Hello, a very good morning to you all today. It's Monday again. It is the 10th of November if you're watching me live. I hope you're doing well today. I've got some very pretty bracelets. We're going to be doing some memory wire bracelets, but instead of the traditional coiled bracelet that kind of wraps around your arm a few times, just going to be making a bracelet with one coil. Of course, they are available for stacking, so if you want to lay them up, you absolutely can. And we've got some gorgeous Baros beads today. So I've just named these Baros wire cuff bracelets. I'm not going to be using a clasp on these because as they are memory wire, they will hold the shape so you can wear them quite easily as a little bangle. However, if you wanted to add a clasp to these, you really could so very easily. You could attach a clasp directly to it, or you could add little jump rings to it as well if you wanted to. So I'm going to say good morning to you, and then I will take you over to the website. You can see probably in the little corner here the colours that we've got for you. I've got 6 lovely colours. I'm going to mix up the colours today. I'm going to make one bracelet, but I'm going to use all 3 of the colours from the gold mix, if that's okay with you. So, how's your weekend been? What have you been up to? What have you been making? What's your gossip? So good morning to Fairness Born. Oh, my sound's muffled. That's not great, is it? Not how we wanted to start off. Let me just see if I can fix that for you. It's been a busy morning here for me. We've had the electrician in, so I don't.
That's meant that I've made that human error and knocks the sound. Does this sound better? Can you let me know if I'm loud and clear? And if not, I'll fiddle about again. Good morning, Anastasia. How are you doing? Hello to Lisa. She says, I hope you're all well. And we've had a very, very busy weekend, really, house stuff, and then we had our Remembrance Day service as well. Thanks, Carol. So yeah, we had a Remembrance Day service on Sunday, which was yesterday. So my little one was in the parade, which was really, really lovely to see. It was a bit cold and a bit wet, and he did a really great job. So I'm hoping you all had a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for letting me know. Right, I am going to go over to the website. We are, of course, totallybeads.co.uk, and I'm already ahead of myself. So I'll come back out just to show you, if you weren't sure, how to find our video tutorial projects. So if you go onto totallybeads.co.uk, we are based in the UK. You'll find that we have our main page here, which will show you all of our wonderful products, and you can click in the different tutorial sections, or you can go into learn to make jewellery making. If you click on to the tutorials, you'll see lots of lovely makes at the top of the page, and today's one is Baros coil cuff bracelet. So I've just named them after the beads, so you can find them fairly easily. Here we've got 3 choices for you in different colours on a silver memory wire and a silver wrapping wire, and then we've also got 3 on the gold. They've been reduced for you today, so they're £6.79. Each kit's going to make up one lovely bracelet, and I'll talk you through the measurements and the gauges and things like that as we work through. So we have a burgundy, which is on the gold. We've got a dark blue on the silver. We've got a metallic or matte purple, on the silver as well. We've got a gorgeous red, beautiful coloured red. It's got like a kind of rusty tone to it. It's gorgeous. That is also on gold. We've got a lovely silver on the silver colourway, and then we've got these yellow gold metallic beads on the gold. Now they're beautiful because they also kind of got this beautiful kind of copper, gold and kind of red kind of touch to them, and some little bits of, I'm going to say, borderline pinky purple. They're really, really pretty, so I'll show you the beads up close so you can have a little look at them. If you head into whichever one takes your fancy, you'll see exactly what I'm using. So I'm using the Puca Baros beads, which are a lovely shape. They're kind of like a barrel shape, and then they're faceted as well. and they have the most beautiful colour to them. I'm using a 0.6 memory wire, which is about 22 gauge, and I'm just going to be using just over 1 coil of that. The bracelet itself is going to be formed from 1 coil, but I use a little bit extra just to turn loops at the back. So as you can see here, if you wanted to attach a clasp to that, you absolutely could. The joy about using the memory wire is it is tempered steel, so it holds its shape and it holds its structure, and therefore it also expands, making it adjustable. So if you wanted a larger bracelet, you just cut more of that memory wire loop that we've got, and then you could just add more beads onto it, and that would make it a larger shape. So that's there for you. That will be in your kit. I'm going to be using some copper wire, which is also a 0.6, again 22 gauge, and I'm going to use about 60 centimeters of that, which is about 24 inches, just a bit less than 24 inches. Of course, it depends how many of these beautiful beads you want to add on. I'm going to add on about 21 of the Puca beads. So these Baros beads, you can see here, it'll give you, it's not giving me the dimensions of them in terms of size. Are they 6 mil? Yeah, 6 by 4 mil, and then it'll give you the whole size as well, which is a 0.8, and you can buy additional bags of those if you want to. This is the product code, but if you just wanted to add any extras in, you can do. And if you want to see if you have got any extras, what else you can make, you can see we've done bracelets in this colour before as well. So if you wanted to do a stitch project, you could absolutely do that. So these are the colours of the wire. It's a copper wire, and it is coloured in this lovely gold colour. So they're your dimensions and things. If you want to add any extra of those in, you can just quick add into your bag. So this is the burgundy colour. It's really, really beautiful. I'm looking forward to showing you these down on the mat. I'm just using the 0.6 wire to just wrap those little loops across the front of them and in between as well. So it's going to give a little bit of detail and extra structure to my already structured bracelet. We have this gorgeous dark blue colour. This one's going to be in the silver. This is same price, £6.79. You can change your currency at the top of the screen if you need to, and you can get those shipped wherever you are in the world. So this is the beautiful, look at that colour, absolutely gorgeous. This is your metallic matte dark blue, and they're all on silver. Don't worry if that's saying it's out of stock. These are available for the bracelets, and we can get that updated if you did want to buy some extra. We've got your purple as well, which is on the silver. And if you wanted to multi-buy, you could mix these colours up. I think all of the silvers look gorgeous together. I think all of the golds look gorgeous together. I'm going to do a mix of the golds today. Quite autumnal, quite festive as well, having the red and the gold mixed in there. But this is our beautiful, really gorgeous purple colour, and that's on your silver wire. We have this beautiful red. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous colour. So you've got your metallic matte red on those, and that's with the gold. All your measurements stay the same for everything. And then we have the silver on the silver, which looks like this. Really straightforward, easy to do. If you haven't done wire before, please don't be put off by these. This is a really good beginner project. You can't go wrong with it. You really can't. And then we have this gorgeous, gorgeous colour in your yellow gold. Now, if I can show you here, you can see you are getting a little bit of a mix of different colours in there. And I will show you, although these are predominantly gold, if you hover over that, can you see that kind of little bit of a pink blush just shimmering over them? So I will get that little bag out so I can show you just the different tones that you can get in those. So there are lovely Baros bead bracelets today, 6 colours to choose from, 3 in a silver finish and 3 in a gold finish as well. Let me know which ones you like the look of, and have you made something with the Baros beads before? So as I say, I think Kitty's done a stitch project with them. I think this is possibly the first time I've used them, and I'm quite fond of memory wire at the moment. I think it's really nice to just have that structure ready to go. So let me have a little look in the comments. Jan, thank you. She says these look pretty, and she's in a damp Sudbury. Weather-wise, it's quite bright today. Actually, just looked out the window. It is a very bright day. Thank you very much. Good morning to Kath. Good morning to Mina. Rachel said these beads remind me of a more cylindrical fire polished bead. Yeah, they are quite, yeah, like the Czech fire polished ones. Good morning to Anne. Any questions, do drop me a comment, right? I'm going to take you down on the mat. I'd like to get making fairly quickly with you, so you can see how lovely these look, how easy they go on, and how great they are to stack. So you can make them larger by just cutting more of the memory wire, and it will, of course, expand outwards. They just fit really, really lovely. So we've got the silver here. We've got this beautiful metallic blue, which is a very deep dark blue. It's really gorgeous, almost kind of hematite coloured. And then we have this beautiful purple. So you can see they look lovely if you did want to stack them together, or maybe you wanted to make a larger coil and you wanted to make it wrap round. You could do. I quite like them having that opening at the back like a bracelet. It is going to hold that structure and that shape. And if you wanted to, very easily, you could just attach a little clasp through the two loops at the back. If you wanted to add on a jump ring, or maybe you want to add on a magnetic clasp, you can do that as well. So they're your three colours in the silver. All I'm doing is just twisting that wire, wrapping it round really easily. Hi Linda, just getting started, you've not missed anything. These are your gorgeous colours in the red, which I'm going to do a mix of today. So you've got this beautiful burgundy. I adore this colour, it's really, really gorgeous. It's like a deep purple, really lovely. We've got this beautiful red, which is just classy. It's a classy looking red. It's not too garish. It's very, very pretty. Oh, Yolanda's in. She says it's a snowy day here in Michigan. How magical. And then here we have the yellow gold. But as you can see, there are touches of different colours running through that. This is the mix I'm going to do today. I'm going to be using about 21 beads in total. So I'm going to do 7 of each because they're just really, really pretty. If I can show you here, so these colours that I'm going to show you now are the yellow gold metallic, and you do get a little mix of other colours other than just the gold. So you can see you've got predominantly gold on them, but if I turn them around, can you see that kind of purpley pinkishy colour? Really, really pretty. Not on all of them, just on the occasional one, which I think just ties in if you are going to make a mix. So they're the colours. Let's get started. I'm going to take my memory wire. Now, memory wire is a tempered steel, so when you're using memory wire, don't use your normal jewellery cutters. I've got a pair of jewellery cutters here, and what we want to do when we're using these is we want to make sure that we're using the right gauge wire, essentially, because if it is too sturdy, so if it's like this tempered steel, what we will do is we will end up putting little marks in our pliers and then they won't cut flush. What we want to do when we're using our memory wire is to use memory wire cutters. You can see these are designed specifically for my memory wire. If I haven't got memory wire cutters, then I'm going to use some heavy duty cutters out of the toolbox. So I'm going to use my crafting wire cutters for my 0.6 wire, and my memory wire I'm going to use something more strong and sturdy to cut through that. So you can see it looks a bit like a slinky. You've just got coils of this wire. I only want one coil and a little bit, so 1 1/4 at most for my size. Of course, if I wanted to cut a larger coil, so if you can see here, this is where the end meets, that would be 1 coil. If I was to go all the way around, you can see I could open up and still keep that shape. So size wise, what I would like to do is, because I'm going to be turning my loops, so I want a little bit extra for my loops, I'm just going to open out my coil of memory wire And I can always cut a little bit more and then cut off anything else I don't need. If I cut too little, like round here, it's not going to go fully around the wrist. It's not going to meet. So I'm just going to cut maybe an inch or so over. And you can see using my memory wire cutters just means that just cuts through like butter. So if I cut it completely even, you see this is one coil, then by the time I curl my ends, it's going to be a little bit shorter and it's not going to meet. If I cut just over, I've got plenty of space to turn my loops at the end, which means I'm not going to have any sharp ends, and it's going to retain that shape for me. So that is that done. I'm now going to turn a little loop. So to turn my loop, you can turn your loops in various different ways. You can use your round nose pliers, or you can use your bail staff pliers. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to start bringing that little end towards me, and I'm going to find a small part of my pliers. I want it fairly small, so I'm just going to go to the smaller part of my pliers where it's tapered. I'm going to hold it at the end so it's kind of flush, just like I would turn in any other loop, and I'm going to turn it round in a little circle till those 2 points meet. And you can see I've got that little turn on it now, so it's a bit like a Q shape, I suppose. And then going to put my pliers back in and just tilt it back to knock it straight. Now sometimes when you're using memory wire, depending on the gauge you use, it can be quite difficult to turn and to twist. This is a 0.6 memory wire, so it's you know, although it's more structured with it being tempered steel, it's still fairly easy. You know, I wasn't putting too much pressure on that. Give it a little knock back, and I've kind of straightened that up and aligned it. That's a band, isn't it? Deep Purple, says Camille. Which colour? They're all bands, they're bracelets, but yeah, Deep Purple is it's a rock band, isn't it? Okay, so I'm now going to start to create my wraps. So I'm going to take my 0.6 wire out, which is a 22 gauge, and you can see this isn't tempered steel. It's copper, and it's pretty much, I would call it, dead soft. So you have different hardnesses of your wire. This is like the hardest you're going to get because it's a tempered steel. Different coppers come in different hardnesses, so you can have dead soft, which is like this, really malleable, can bend it, can shape it how I want, and then you can have like hard, half hard and hard as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some very well used wire straighteners, and I'm just going to straighten out any of the kinks where it's been on my reel. I'm going to cut about 60 centimeters of this, which is about 24 inches. So I'm just going to kind of measure out how much I'm going to need first, and then I'm going to straighten it. It doesn't have to be perfectly straightened. You can warm it up in your fingers and you can straighten it that way as well. But I like using nylon coated pliers to straighten out my wire. So that is 30 centimeters, and that is 60 centimeters. So 60 centimeters is about 24 inches. Once I've taken that out, I'm just going to run it through my pliers. So you can see I'm just taking my plier over the top of the wire and running it through. Nylon coated pliers are really good because you can straighten out your wire really easily with it. And you can also kind of use them to, if you've done any wire wrapping, you can kind of compress your wire with that as well. And because they've got those nylon rubber tips on them, it's just going to mean I'm not going to mark or mar my wire at all. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to have one loop at the end turned, leaving this open because I want to be able to attach my beads onto it. Hold it in whichever way you want to. And then I'm going to take the wire and just leave a little tail end, and I'm going to hold it over my wire, my memory wire, and then I'm going to bring this round. Now what you can do is just bring it through the middle. I want to try and keep this shape, but because I can open and close that, I can just kind of move my wire into position. But I'm just going to wrap it 3 times, and that's just going to anchor it on. So I'm kind of bringing it through the middle. going to just move that up so it's not in the way. Okay, so now I can work on this and I don't have to worry about that other bit being in the way. So when I wrap the wire around, I'm just going to bring it around the memory wire and through. And I want those coils, those wraps, to just sit neatly next to each other. I'm not wrapping over them, I'm just wrapping neatly. And then I'm also going to just straighten that out through my fingers, because obviously I've just straightened it with my nylon coated pliers. I want to make sure I'm getting rid of any of those little kinks. Now what I'm going to do, where I've got that tail end, I'm just going to unravel it a little bit, and I'm going to trim off. I can use my normal cutters now. I can just trim off, and I want to kind of trim off close and also kind of to the front of the bracelet. I'm then going to push that up underneath that loop, and then with a pair of chain nose pliers, I'm just going to tighten down that little end. So can you see where I've cut to get into shot? You can see that little bit sticking up. You just want to press that down because we don't want any sharp edges sticking out. So just with my pliers and just kind of rounding it and making sure that's now fully tucked in, nice and flush, and I'm pushing that up underneath my loop. I can manipulate that loop a little bit afterwards as well if I want to. So I've just attached on my wire, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding on my beads. Now I'm going to do a mix of beads today. I'm going to do some of these beautiful red ones. I'm going to use those gorgeous yellow metallic, which I would say is like I'm going to call them gold rainbow, because that's what they are to me. And then I've got these beautiful deep purple, there you go, Camille, which is like your burgundy colour. So I'm going to add 21 beads on, I would say. So I'm just laying them out because I'm going to do a mix in the colour order I'm going to put them on. My end of the bracelet, which doesn't have the loop on, I'm going to slide on my first bead and bring that all the way round up to where I've wrapped. And again, keeping that pushed up so it's up close against the wire, and the wire is up against the end of the memory wire curl. I'm now just going to bring that wire over the top of the bead, through the middle of the memory wire, and I'm going to pull it close next to the bead, and I'm going to wrap 3 times. So again, I'm just bringing that wire around each time. I am knocking my beads piles, but don't worry. I'm keeping the wire fairly tight. It's a 0.6, but it is copper, so it's still easy to manipulate and to move. Straighten it a little bit with my fingers, and then if I need to, I'm just going to push up those wraps. So I want the wraps quite close together, and I'm just going to wrap in between 3 times. So you can see I've now got that little bit of twist just coming across the bead. Now, depending on how you're kind of wrapping and holding this, if I'm wrapping my wire up, it's going to come down the front of the bead. The way I've attached it on, I'm coming from the bottom, so it's going to go up across the bead. So you can see, depending on which way you hold it, it's just going to come across. And if you really want to, you can always add a little twist into the wire if you want to straighten it up. That goes across the bead there. It is a gorgeous red, Camille. Alison says, I love these, but me and wire are not compatible. These are really straightforward. You've got the shape already in the tempered steel of the memory wire to give you that structure. So you don't need to do anything with that. All we are doing is sliding a bead on, pushing that bead up close to the last little 3 wraps we've got, bringing the wire over the bead. So I'm supporting the bead between my finger and my thumb to hold it in place, and then I'm just securing that wire in place by bringing it round close to the bead. So you can see I just push it with my finger up close, and then we wrap it round once, twice, and a 3rd time. So I want those wraps to be fairly tight to keep them nice and neat. If I'm struggling to do that, I can always just tweak it with my pliers, and then as I twist it, those wraps will just run nicely to add that little bit of decoration across the front of the bead. And the bead's doing all the work as well, because it's a lovely shape and it's got that facet to it, so it's going to give it that lovely kind of twinkle and sparkle. On with my next bead, pushing it up towards the last wrap, holding it in place between my finger and my thumb. I want them up close, I don't want major gaps in between. Bringing that wire round to just lock it in place. So with my finger, I'm just going to push it against the bead. Round once, through the middle of the bracelet, push down again, bringing that round for the second time, and through the middle of the bracelet. Just push it into place with my finger, or I can slide it up if I want with my tools, just to tighten it up, and I'm just wrapping 3 times in between. So it's now ready to go across the next bead. So adding on the red one again. And I'm just supporting the bracelet, so I'm not opening out that shape. That shape's going to kind of stay where it needs to be. I'm going to go across, holding the bead in place. And obviously the more beads you put on, the more they will just stay where you want them to. And you can twist that wire around as well. So locking the bead in place with the wire around once, through the middle, push the wire up close. So we're making coils essentially by wrapping that wire around. As long as that wire is still traveling around the bracelet, 3 wraps in between. If you wanted to, you could spread them out even more. You might think, actually, I want 5 wraps in between. You can totally do that. And as I say, you can twist your beads into position so you can get those wraps nice and even. So now I'm going to add on one of the gold ones again, pushing it up, so pushing those beads together to just tighten that wrap in the centre. Angela's asking, will any type of bead work? I guess so, yeah, I think it would. I think these are the perfect shape because you've got that kind of flat end with it being kind of almost kind of barrel shape. You've got a nice flush end on one side, so it's trapping that really nicely either side. You could do this on a fully rounded bead, I suppose, as well, if you want to, just to add that extra bit of decoration. But I think these are particularly lovely, and you've also got the facet on them, so you can just lock in. If you want to give it a little twist, again, you can have that wire moving in whichever direction you want. But it is really, really straightforward. All I'm doing is just adding on my beads. So I've used one of the goldy yellow colours. I'm going to go back on with that kind of burgundy colour, bringing the wire next to the bead. So just holding the bead between my thumb and my finger, bringing the wire around, nice and easy, through the middle, locking it in place with 3 wraps. And as you use more of the wire, it gets more manageable as well, to be honest. If you did run short on wire, you could always just wrap on 3 times to do it again. You could as well, if you wanted to cut a longer section of wire, run that cross in the opposite direction, so I could bring that wire back over to make a crisscross effect, if you can see. Hi, just me. Just wire wrapping adds beauty to the beads. I absolutely think so, yeah. Just gives it a little bit extra detail, a little bit of sparkle. And I love these colours together, actually. So now I'm going to add on a red one. So again, just where the end is on my memory wire bracelet, keeping that coil by holding it. I'm not pulling it out too much, not distorting that shape. I want to keep my wire fairly straight as it runs across the bead. And then lock it in place by giving it a little push up, just up to where that bead finishes. locking it in place with one wrap, pushing my wire down. I'm not using my nails, I'm not even using my tools with this, I'm just using the inside of my finger, bringing it round. And you can see when I bring it round, I tend to just run my fingers through it just to straighten it out. If I do feel it's not quite close enough or it needs tweaking, I'm just going to go in with my pliers and slide and kind of push up to compress it. After the red one, I'm going to go for this beautiful yellowy metallic colour again. Pushing those two beads together just to make sure that there's a nice equal space with those three wraps. Bringing the wire round, so I'm holding the bead in between my finger and my thumb on my less dominant hand, and I'm curving that wire, so I'm guiding it round. Really straightforward, really easy. Push it down. So if you want to, you can think, oh, that's too far away, which it won't be, and then you can just compress that in. Second wrap, third wrap. Straighten that wire down. Just the warmth of my fingers will make that more malleable as well, because if there's any kinks in it, you can just straighten it out. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. When it runs across the bead, I would like it to be nice and straight. But then if I wanted to, I can, of course, just come in with my pliers and tweak the top of that as well. Thank you. It's a beautiful colour combination, and Camille says it matches my nails. The red does. Don't look too closely at my nails today. I've tried to do poppies for remembrance. Just bringing that over. Can you see how gorgeous that colour is? I've actually need to pick up one of those ones. But this bead here on the gold, yellow, has got that gorgeous purpley colour to it as well. So back on with the colour that I want. Your kits will all have one colour of the Baros bead in. Of course, you can multi-buy, or you could just buy extra colours if you wanted to. There is an array of different colours available on the website. So I'm just using the 0.6 wire, which is about a 22 gauge, to wrap over. I'm using for this size about 60 centimetres, which is about 24 inches. I'm using these lovely Baros beads, which have got that lovely kind of facet to them, but I've chosen the metallic kind of matte colours. And then I'm just using that memory wire, which is also a 0.6, just to create the structure of my bracelet. And I'm just wrapping that 0.6 wire around. You could probably use a different gauge wire as well to create those wraps, but I think this is just giving enough. It's not too much that it's not, distracting. It's not too difficult to work with, but it's not too fine either. Again, if I feel that needs to be pushed up a little bit, then I'm just supporting the memory wire and just pushing that wire along against the beads. Now we're going to use this lovely goldy one with the flash of colour. Putting it into position, bringing the wire across. So I want it going basically across the front of the bead on the outside, so when the wire is facing forward, but you could wrap it over the top or wherever you wanted. Bringing it once around to lock in place, making sure that I'm not overlapping. So if you can see here, I'm just going to tighten that down a little bit. I think my camera's struggling to keep focus a bit today. If I need to compress the wire, just taking my chain nose pliers and gently pushing upwards. And then back to this colour. So you just add on the amount of beads that you need to. Anastasia says, Natalie, what size is the wire that I'm using to wrap with? This is a 0.6 so it's a 22 gauge. That's going to be all included in your kit. So in your kit, you're getting the 0.6 memory wire coil, you're getting the Baros beads that you need. I've put in at least 21 beads for your bracelet, and you're also going to get the 0.6 22 gauge wire, which is this one that I'm using to wrap with. That's everything you need. The only thing you won't be supplied with are your tools. And if we're cutting our memory wire, we want memory wire cutters or heavy duty cutters, and then normal flush cutters for the 0.6 copper wire, a pair of chain nose pliers, and something to turn your loops with. That's all you're going to need. So pushing that bead up close, bringing the wire across the top of the bead, locking in its place with the finger so it's pushed flush against the side of the bead, if you can see there. Bringing it round once and through the middle twice. And as I'm moving along the bracelet, you'll see I'm getting to kind of midway point of the memory wire, so it's easier to push it through because I can just, opens up, so I'm not dragging it through the center as much. 3 wraps, straighten out, compress if needed, making sure my wraps are sitting next to each other, not on top of each other. And then I'm going to add my next colour bead. Again, going back to this beautiful, it's like a russet red colour. Bringing the wire over the top of the bead, just nice and repetitive, really, from this point onwards. And all I'm doing is making sure I've got 3 wraps each time in between. And that way my beads will be evenly spaced throughout. Sliding on my next bead, bringing the wire up and around. 1, 2, 3. So just repeat the length that you need, really. Still holding and supporting that bead with my finger and my thumb, bringing the wire up over the top, making sure that bead is pushed close to that last wrap before I lock it in. I'm just winding that wire round, almost placing it where I want it, not fighting with it, just laying it down, bringing it through the middle, positioning it across the top, and bringing it down again to create those 3 wraps. And you can push that next bead up if you want to just make sure your spacing's nice. Just push it with your finger towards the bead, so we've not got, it's not too loose, it's nice and kind of taut around the beads. Over the top 3 times, and then on with the next bead, just repeating. So it is a quick make. It's not going to take you very long at all to do. Bringing it over the bead. Just check I'm happy with how that wire's laying before I lock it in with those 3 wraps. And then on with my next bead. So I'm bringing the wire up from the bottom. If you're wrapping in the opposite direction, absolutely fine. The wire will just come from the top. Going across the bead once. And I want that wrap fairly close. Just push it in if need be. 1, 2, 3. Running my fingers through the wire just to warm it up, to keep it straight. And then across the bead again. So say if you really wanted to, you could work back with the wire and do like a crisscross effect, but I think it looks just nice to have that one running across the top. And then going to get to my last bead, same as before, sliding it on. You can even rotate and check, you know, what kind of tone you want at the front if you've got a bit of kind of multicolour on those beads. Lock that into place. And just as we started, and just as we've done in between, I'm doing 3 wraps to finish. You can count if you want. Well, I've got 3 and a bit wraps, so I'll do 3 and a bit wraps. I then want my wrap to be finishing at the front, finishing on the outside almost of the bracelet. So it's not finishing on the inside next to the wrist. I'm going to come in and cut nice and close because I'm just using the 0.6 wire, not the memory wire. I can use my normal cutters. So I'm going to cut nice and close. And with the chain nose pliers, I'm just going to give it a little compress. Run my finger over it just to check there's no sharp edges. And I have now my bracelet. You can run back through and you can just check your positioning if you wanted to give it a little twist. If I twist one in one direction and one bead in the other direction, it will kind of tighten up as well. And I can just reposition where that wire runs across the bead. So when I'm happy with my wire and where it is, can I just give that a little pull down a little bit more and a little push up. I only need now about 1 centimetre, if that really, to make that little loop. So I want my loop to kind of finish. So I'm going to just pull it that way because I've pulled it out. So I've got that lovely kind of shape. So what I tend to do is I'm going to trim off, and because I'm cutting my memory wire, I'm going to use my memory wire cutters, and I'm just going to leave about 1 centimetre from that last wrap. Cover with your hands. I think I've missed a bead, haven't I there? Never mind. Cover with your hands so it doesn't fire away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give a little horizontal bend on my memory wire, just giving it a flick up or flick down. So then when I come in with my round nose pliers, I'm going to make sure it's flush. I'm going to just support it and just turn that loop just like I did before. Now before I turn the loop and then I straightened it up, because I put that bend in it first, that loop's going to sit directly on top. I'm going to give it a little bend because I have opened it out, and that will be a good size for me. I can now attach a clasp onto this if I wanted to, put little jump rings through these loops. Little magnetic clasp might be quite nice, might want a lobster clasp, or I've just got a bangle that I can easily open and close and slide on and off my wrist. So these are our Baros bracelets today. Mina says, loving this. I'm going to try at Christmas holidays. I need to try this design out. Really straightforward to do. I've kind of cheated and used a mix of the 3 colours. So these are the colours that you can choose from. You can either get the yellow gold metallic on the gold, or you can get the burgundy on the gold and the red on the gold, and I've used all 3 of those. But this would be how they would look if you were to get them individually and you wanted to stack them. And again, if you wanted to multi-make, then you could stack them like so. I think they're really, really pretty. It's how they look if you're stacking them up. And that's how easy they are to take on and off, which again, you know, you often see me trying to model my bracelet for you at the end, and I'm like trying to get my clasp on, or you have to ask someone, can you put this on? You can do it as easy as that. It's on. If you want to make it larger, you're just going to cut more of that memory wire. So if I can cut you another piece just to demonstrate for you. So say if I'm cutting 1.5 circles here, just to show you, you can see as I open that out, it's going to keep its shape. It's going to be wider still. So I could turn my loops there, and then I'm going to have a much, much wider bracelet. If I wanted to make it smaller, then I'm going to cut it, still probably cut just 1 circle, to be honest. But then when you've put your loops on, it's not going to fully meet. But then if you did want to add a clasp, you could pull that round together, so you can see how you could make it much smaller or much wider using the memory wire. That's the joy of it. In the silver colorways, we've got this absolutely beautiful metallic purple. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of got a lavender kind of tone to it. We've got the silver with the silver as well, which I think look absolutely gorgeous together. And then we have this very, very pretty dark blue. It is a dark blue. It's absolutely gorgeous dark blue. All of our Baros wheel cuff bracelets are £6.79. You can totally change that to whatever currency you like. So just for example, if you were watching in the United States and you wondered, well, how much is this? It's coming to $7.52 per kit in your bracelet. So for your bracelet kit, you're going to get everything you need to make one beautiful Baros coil bracelet. You're going to get your memory, which is your 0.6, which is about 22 gauge. You're going to get your wrapping wire, again 0.6, which is a 22 gauge. So that will come in either the silver or the gold color, copper. And then you're going to get your beautiful Baros beads as well, in whichever color you've chosen. I love these colours together. I think they're really, really pretty. Just Me says, thank you, Natalie. Very nice. Sheila says, very pretty. Linda says, thank you for such a lovely make. Thank you so much. Lovely and effective, says Angel. Thank you very much. These are very pretty. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone's been very, very kind. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you enjoyed them. I hope you realise how easy they are to do. A nice way of just embellishing those beads and using memory wire to keep the shape. They are also really good for stacking. Usually with memory wire, it coils up your arm. I like making them just as bangles, to be honest. Check out totallybeads.co.uk for your kits, and I will very much echo what Anastasia says, saying have a blessed week, and I'll see you again on Wednesday. I'm going to be here on Wednesday. I did make a full detailed list of what I was going to be demonstrating. What date are we on? To the 10th today. Ooh, okay, so on the 12th, on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing some beautiful necklaces. I've named them Lakshmi, and they are beaded and they are very, very pretty. So if you can come and join me then, I'd be very delighted to see you. Have a